Faker. We all know about Faker, or EXE. Like, your granddad probably knows about him, your dog knows about him, like anybody knows about Faker. I am actually surprised I've never talked about this guy until now, so let's just get right into it.
Peering into a face like mine, light of line.
Our story begins with Faker starting off as an experiment from X, but he instantly became an outcast. Because of this, now he wants to gain vengeance on anybody that wronged him. Faker physically wants you to rip yourself apart inside, actually see you suffer and feel pain. He has a game that he needs to spread around, so he does this through his Harbingers, which is basically the equivalent of Lurdex's Guardians, but for Faker. All of the Harbingers represent a certain emotion Faker has, but overall, their goal is to spread their game around on Earth. And that's basically the whole gist of Faker's story. It's not overly deep or anything, but I think it's actually pretty decent. It's a simple story about an outcast that got kicked away from their creator, going on in their own terms to do what they want to do and gain revenge and send their game around. Now let me just say that this story is not finished as of right now. From what I heard, Faker is going to get his own comic, which is actually pretty cool. So that will probably give us far more details. He's also getting his own games, so I don't know how progress on that is doing, so whenever those come out, that will give us far more details on the guy. I honestly wish I had far more to say on it, but I just really don't. It's overall a pretty simple story that I kinda like. So now I guess we'll get into some interesting facts.
I feel like you should unwind and take a breather.
Oh man, there are a lot of interesting little facts to come out of Faker. So I could have brought this up in Origins, but it wasn't too important. So Faker stores his victims in the Black Sun. Well, an equivalent of the sun that is called the Black Sun. There's no picture of this that I was able to find, but try to imagine a solar eclipse. That's the Black Sun in a nutshell. I feel like that's gotta be the most interesting way to keep your victims together. Now, something more interesting is that these victims leak out into Sonic characters. So I guess imagine black gooiness that turns into a Sonic character. Interestingly enough is that when you become a Sonic character, your form is either gonna look good, or it's gonna look like this guy. Speaking of that guy, apparently he's based off of something, but I'm not really sure. I think he's the guy in the black cloak that you could see. That guy just near the monitor box. I would bring up something interesting about all of these guys, but I kinda forgot. The Tails doll, from what I remember, got ripped up by a dog and was given to a kid. And the cloak guy goes around killing people in specific housing. It's kind of interesting, actually. This was something that I feel like I should have brought up earlier, in the Origins part, but it wasn't, I guess, too important. But if Faker entered our world, all hope would be lost. You can't really kill the guy unless you decide to do a ritual, but the only way of accessing that is through a random EXE out there. Faker has this whole big thing to do with humans, but I'd never really brought that up. I really should have until right now I'm doing it. But yeah, if he entered our world, we'd all be screwed. I feel like this is a really interesting concept that's never been looked into before. You've never been able to no one's really ever thought of it. Can you kill an EXE or has ever dabbled into that concept? And Faker is probably the only one, to have this to him. There's not really many interesting things to get into next. He can't play any instruments, but he's good at playing chess. A lot of his story has some pretty cool throwbacks, which I feel like you should look into yourself. Just little nods and references. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for. His dad is Lurdex. I don't know if this is canon or not. Maybe it is, maybe it's not, but that's kinda cool, actually. You don't see many EXEs be connected to each other. And when they are, it's usually non-canon fan art stuff. So those were the facts and details I wanted to get into. So now let's finally get into his design.
Our might is made alike to overcome the darkest fires. Yet in time, all of our minds.
This is a good enough, simple base design. He kind of looks like movie Sonic a little bit, if you can tell from the eyes and just how his arms are blue. Probably wasn't intended to be that way, but kind of like it, to be honest. If you look at the top of his head, he has a thing on top of it. I did see some people say they didn't like it, but I do. I kind of am fine with it, to be honest. Overall, pretty good enough base design. Now here's his true form. I kind of like it, not to an extreme level, but it's still not bad. I like that he's a more dark blue, his mouth expression, and the blackness goo on him. Well, it's not goo, it's antimatter. People thought it was a shading thing, but I like it, so yeah, not bad. So that was Faker. I don't have like a strong connection to the guy, but I'm gonna be honest, he's kind of cool, honestly. So, yeah, it's kind of it. There's not much else to really say. There's some interesting aspects to him, and I'm interested to see how he gets expanded upon. So, that's it for me, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.